What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for NFL Week 10, Thursday Night Football.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon
so you don't miss our new videos.
Okay, in this video, I'm going to give you my top picks for the Thursday Night Football Showdown between the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, NFL Week 10, let's take a look at this NFL Showdown between the Indianapolis Colts and the Tennessee Titans. Okay, at the quarterback position, I like Philip Rivers from the Indianapolis Colts playing the Tennessee Titans, who have the 11th worst defense overall, and they give up the 11th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. Philip Rivers has averaged 15.3 fantasy points per game on the season. He's only getting an average of 1.5 rush attempts per game, and he scored 8, 22, and 29 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's going to be about 65% owned, projected at 18 fantasy points here tonight. He's 9,800 DraftKings salary, and Vegas thinks there's going to be 48.5 points scored in this game, and they've got this game even. So this is going to be a close, competitive game. Philip Rivers is much lower salary. He's got the better matchup. I think it's going to be a passing game script for Philip Rivers. Ryan Tannehill has a bad matchup here. The Indianapolis Colts are the second best defense overall, and they give up the absolute fewest fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks. So I want to save that salary for the running back position. So I like Philip Rivers here versus the Tennessee Titans. Okay, let's take a look at the running back position. I don't trust the running backs from the Colts. They've got 3 running backs that are getting touches and targets, so it's going to be way too hard to pick the guy that's going to find the end zone. So I like Derrick Henry from the Tennessee Titans. He's averaging 20.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 22.8 rush attempts per game and 2.3 pass targets per game. He scored 7, 20, and 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games, and he's going to be about 69% owned, projected at 16.5 fantasy points here tonight. He's 10,800 DraftKings salary, and I think the Tennessee Titans are going to win this game. I think the Titans are going to take the lead. I think Derrick Henry is going to get a ton of work here, even though he's got a tough matchup, but I like Derrick Henry here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, real quick on the Indianapolis Colts running back situation. The problem I have here is Jonathan Taylor only got 6 rush attempts and 2 pass targets last game. Jordan Wilkins got 11 rush attempts and 2 pass targets. And then Nyheim Hines got 2 rush attempts and 3 pass targets. So they're spreading the ball across all 3 of those running backs. If I were to pick a running back here, I'd probably go with Jordan Wilkins, who's only 5,400 DraftKings salary. He got the most touches last game. He's only going to be about 15% owned. And they all have a pretty good matchup because the Tennessee Titans give up the 8th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. So if I had to pick a running back from the Indianapolis Colts, I'd probably play Jordan Wilkins here versus the Tennessee Titans.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all the tools for NFL, MLB is still going, NBA is right around the corner. This is a great time to get in and try everything for 1 month. The tools are all about saving research time. You can see the last 3 games, the fantasy points per game, the targets they got per game, so you can see how involved they are in the offense, the rushes they got per game. Seeing all this stuff on one screen helps you save time and make better picks. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, Just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
Okay, let's take a look at the wide receiver position. Now, the top wide receiver on the slate is A.J. Brown from the Tennessee Titans. He's averaging 19.8 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 8 pass targets per game. And he's going to be about 54% owned, projected at 15.8 fantasy points here tonight, but he's 10,400 DraftKings salary. Doesn't have a great matchup here. The Indianapolis Colts are middle of the pack defending opposing wide receivers. But if we're going to use our salary up on Derrick Henry, it's going to be hard to fit in A.J. Brown. So I'm going to go with a couple of these Indianapolis Colts wide receivers. I like Zac Pascal from the Indianapolis Colts, averaging 8.2 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5 pass targets per game. He scored 11, 7, and 15 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He's going to be about 22% owned, projected at 9.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's 6,400 DraftKings salary. And these Colts wide receivers have nice matchups here. The Tennessee Titans give up the 5th most fantasy points to opposing wide receivers. So I like Zac Pascal here versus the Tennessee Titans. Now, T.Y. Hilton is going to be back for this game, but he really hasn't played all that well this season. Even before his injury, he only got 2 pass targets, scoring 3 fantasy points. In the game before that, he got 5 pass targets and scored 2 fantasy points. T.Y. Hilton is only averaging 6.7 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 5.6 pass targets per game. Now, he is going to be about 29% owned, projected at 9 fantasy points here tonight. He's 5,800 DraftKings salary, but I'm probably going to pass on T.Y. Hilton. I prefer Zac Pascal, and then to save some salary at the wide receiver position, take a look at Michael Pittman Jr. from the Indianapolis Colts. He's averaging 5.5 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4 pass targets per game, but he scored 10 fantasy points last week off of 7 pass targets. Now keep in mind that T.Y. Hilton was out last week, so he's probably only going to get about 5 pass targets here tonight, and he's going to be about 31% owned, projected at 9.6 fantasy points here tonight, and he's only 4,400 DraftKings salary. So nice matchup here. So I'm going to stack Zac Pascal and Michael Pittman along with Phillip Rivers for a low salary, high risk, high reward stack here versus the Tennessee Titans. Okay, now if you want to play a Tennessee Titan wide receiver, take a look at Corey Davis. He's averaging 15 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 7 pass targets per game. Now, he didn't score any fantasy points last game off of 3 pass targets, but the 2 games before that, he scored 30 and 16 fantasy points off of 10 pass targets in each of those games. He's going to be about 39% owned, projected at 12 fantasy points here tonight, and he's 7,800 DraftKings salary. So if you're playing Derrick Henry, not going to have enough salary to fit in A.J. Brown, unless you get real creative with the rest of your lineup. But I like Corey Davis here versus the Indianapolis Colts. Okay, moving on to the tight end position. The pass catcher from the Tennessee Titans that I do want to try to fit into my lineup is Jonnu Smith, averaging 11.3 fantasy points per game on the season, getting an average of 4.6 pass targets per game. Now, his production has fallen off the past few games. He's only scored 11, 5, and 2 fantasy points in the last 3 games off of 2, 2, and 4 pass targets. But he's going to be about 21% owned, projected at 9.8 fantasy points here tonight. He's 7,000 DraftKings salary, and we saw earlier in the year that he's got some pretty big upside when they involve this guy in the game plan. So I like Jonnu Smith here versus the Indianapolis Colts.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NFL slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.